From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Every fall in southeast Colorado, hordes of hairy, eight-legged creatures leave their burrows and roam the landscape in search of a mate. This tarantula migration draws hundreds of curious spider lovers to La Junta around this time each year. The town's annual Tarantula Festival, which happens this Friday and Saturday, offers tarantula tours, a parade, and other events to celebrate these oversized arachnids. Now, as someone who is generally creeped out by tarantulas, I wanted to understand why some people find them fascinating enough to attend a festival dedicated to them. So I reached out to Kareem Garby. He's a horticulture specialist with Colorado State University who specializes in insects and arachnids. He just got back from his own visit to the La Junta area and has some great tips on how to spot some tarantulas if you go. Okay, Kareem, please don't judge me. Now, I don't have a fear of spiders per se. I just don't really like looking at them. And the thought of one crawling on me kind of fills me with anxiety. And Kareem, I know I am not alone in this. Lots of people suffer from arachnophobia. So calm me down here. What should we know about tarantulas to turn our fear into fascination?
For sure. And I would just empathize that, I used to be scared of spiders myself, and now I have them as pets.
Okay.
Tarantulas are really misunderstood. Just because they're big doesn't mean they're dangerous. Actually, in the animal world, the larger an insect or an arthropod is, usually the less potent the venom is, because it's usually the small ones that have to overcompensate with a more powerful venom.
Well, that does make me feel better. And I've heard that they're kind of timid, too. Is that true?
Yeah, tarantulas are extremely timid. They are constantly being eaten by various predators, so that's why they only come out of their burrow this one time of year, because they know the risks that are associated with being out in the open.
So tarantulas live in burrows. How do you spot these burrows?
The burrows, you really have to be looking for them. It's a hole maybe about as big as a few inches across, and you'll see a silk matting around the burrow. That's how I find them. They're usually at the base of vegetation in really undisturbed areas. So the farther you go from the main trail, you're more likely to find them. And sometimes they'll even have a little line of silk over the entrance.
That surprises me that it's such a small hole, because, to me, it's a really big spider.
Mm-hmm. Well, the inside of the burrow may be more spacious, but these tarantulas, knowing that they are so delectable, everything wants to eat them, they don't want their nest entrance to be too conspicuous.
This makes sense. Well, let's talk about the annual migration, which happens in early fall. And, this is the reason for La Junta's Tarantula Fest this weekend. Now, these spiders are not relocating. They are out in search of love, or at least in search of a mate. Kareem, why do they make this trek? Can't they just find a mate in the next burrow over?
Yeah, tarantulas are not really communal organisms, so their potential mates don't live too close to them. They do have to kind of go in search of them. And that's because arthropods like tarantulas, they are ambush hunters, so they don't get a meal often, and so they view kind of anything nearby as a prey item. And so if they live too close together, they may end up eating each other too frequently.
Oh, wow. Well, then what happens with the migration? Because you don't really hear about tarantulas attacking each other during the migration.
Yeah, this one time of year, a lot of insects that tend to be aggressive, not towards humans, but, towards things of their size. Since they view everything as prey, this time of year kind of dampens the murder hormones. And so they become a little bit more inclined to love.
Or at least not eat each other. What is unique about tarantula mating rituals?
Oh, gosh, don't get me started. My favorite part of it is that the males, because spiders are mostly blind, tarantulas are so hairy because they don't see with their eyes, they see through touch. And so the female can't see the male approaching, but she can hear him.
Okay.
And he kind of plays her a song at her nest entrance. The males will rhythmically tap the silk at the entrance to kind of announce, hey, I'm a mate, not a meal.
Okay, so that attracts the female, but then it also maybe just kind of, calms her down, lets her know I am also not a predator.
Correct. Yeah, no, it helps differentiate his signals from that of the struggling prey item. And then even as they're mating, they meet kind of face to face. It's not a typical animal sex. And he is still tapping her the whole time. And those tappings are thought to have a calming effect on her.
You mentioned that tarantulas are pretty much blind, but don't they have 8 eyes? What's the deal?
You know, tarantulas or spiders, the ancestor, they had functional eyes at one point, but as they moved more and more towards like burrow dwelling, they had less of a need for them. They needed them at one point, but they don't really need them now. Some tarantulas can see a little, but it's like very blurry vision. They are mostly relying on their hairs because each of those hairs is hooked up to a nerve to help sense vibrations in the air, on the ground, through the silk.
So I'm imagining a wave or, maybe a stampede of just thousands of hairy tarantulas marching across the grasslands here. That's probably an exaggeration. How many tarantulas are typically out and about at a given time?
Yeah, unsatisfying answer. It depends on the weather, the time of day that you go. Last year I went around the same time of year and I saw, I think, 15 tarantulas live, all of them.
Okay.
This year I saw only 3 and they were all dead.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it just depends on the weather. If it's a cooler day, we'll probably get more. If it's too hot, they can overheat. They'll stay in their burrow. And you ideally want to go around dawn or dusk.
Now, you mentioned seeing dead ones last year, and I want to mention it is dangerous for these spiders to get out and travel these distances to find a mate. Unfortunately, many get run over by vehicles on the roads. I have read that the Butterfly Pavilion and CDOT have actually been studying the idea of creating tarantula tunnels to help protect them. What would that look like?
Yeah, I'm really happy with this project. So they've been surveying the area to see where are the areas that have the most tarantulas so they can construct those tarantula tunnels, in the most cost-effective way that's going to get the most bang for our buck.
Yeah.
And they're essentially just like, you may have heard of wildlife bridges that go over highways to provide, a bridge for deer and other animal.
Yeah.
These bridges go beneath the roads and they can maybe be used by other wildlife too eventually.
Tarantula Fest is not just about spotting spiders. They have all kinds of different events, like there's a celebratory parade and tours that take people out to look for tarantulas. We should note that the tarantula tours at Tarantula Fest are filled for this year. So for people hoping to spot some spiders on their own, Kareem, what are your best tips for people who want to see the max number of tarantulas?
Yeah, besides the timing we mentioned earlier, when you're driving in, a lot of the hikes and the trails that you get to are along these unpaved county roads. And so drive slow. I often was driving a little too fast, saw a tarantula, and I had to swerve to make sure it went between my tires and not underneath one.
Yes.
There's not really any equipment you got to bring. You just got to bring a keen eye, have some patience. Just understand that you may not see any tarantulas, or you may see a ton, but even no matter how many tarantulas you see, there is still so much other beautiful nature to enjoy, other rare birds, rare insects that I haven't found anywhere else in Colorado either. Bring bug spray, bring sunscreen, bring ample water, bring a hat, and just bring an inquisitive attitude.
Kareem Garby is a horticulture specialist with Colorado State University. He spoke with me about the annual tarantula migration in southeast Colorado and how you can maximize your chances of spotting them in the wild. La Junta's Tarantula Fest happens this Friday and Saturday. We'll include links to learn more in our show notes and at KUNC.org. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening.